What is the latest goings on with the Tampa Bay wideouts? Do you need to adjust your special teams drafting strategy for 2026? And what is the deal with Lamar Jackson and that Baltimore Ravens offense? Plus, tonight we have the 10th place team co-owner in the FFPC Big Gorilla, Josh Peschke, joining us tonight to talk much ado about that. Plus, the Mark Andrews contract, Michael Wilson, Adonai Mitchell, and so much more. Stick around. We've got a great show for you. Ferrell Elliott is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
Can't stand the pressure. I've seen greater men than me, the lesser.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now watching the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. Welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for analysis from the best players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott.
Solace in the scripture. Are we not all our father's sons? I became a man. Nobody ever told me what a man was.
Thank you, Rob. Greetings and salutations to all of you Balkaholics and Ferrelliacs. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com. That's myffpc.com. I am your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman. You can connect with me on the X at Eric Balkman. You know me from the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown, the FFPC Insider Access Show on the Better Sports Network, and of course, the Fantasy Football Players Championship. My co-host is the definitive commissioner of fantasy football, Mr. Ferrell Elliott. We'll bring him on shortly. Coming up on tonight's show, we will be discussing Quentin Johnston and the other Chargers pass catchers in the wake of Justin Herbert's hand injury, what you're doing with them in league championship week for the FFPC. We'll also discuss what we think of Devin Neal as a sneaky start this week for the Saints against the Buccaneers, with Alvin Kamara expected to miss. And we'll also get a visit from Josh Peschke, who is one of the co-owners of the 10th place overall team in the FFPC Big Gorilla, heading in to the championship round sprint in week 15. We'll get his thoughts on Kenneth Gainwell. We get his thoughts on so much more that is going on with the FFPC and the NFL in general for fantasy football upcoming here on the show tonight. I want to remind everybody that you can connect with us on X at HSFF Learn more about Ferrell's Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship at KFFSC.com. Facebook.com/HSFF is where to connect with us there. Email the show, highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com, if you have any constructive criticism or you have any questions that you want answered on the show. That's the place to send it to. Well, I'll try to get to all the chat room questions, X posts, and emails in the fantasy feedback segment coming up later on in the show. Thanks to our audio engineer, my best friend Bryce, and our producer and mutual friend Rob. Now I want to bring in the co-host with the most, the definitive commissioner of fantasy football. He runs the KFFSC at KFFSC.com, and I'm counting down the days. A little bit more than 2 months till I see him in person at the Super Sunday festivities at Caesars Southern Indiana for the kickoff of 2026 drafts in the KFFSC. Please welcome in Mr. Ferrell Elliott. Ferrell, happy December to you, sir.
Oh, buddy, it's so good to see you. How are you?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Excited. How was Thanksgiving for you?
It was fantastic. I'm still loving it, Balky. We talked about it last Friday night. You want to keep talking about it? I can talk about it all the time. I have many things to be thankful for. You know, we got a great Dizzles in the. There's something to be thankful for. You know, Tulane's currently beating North Texas. I'm thankful for that.
We had the James, was it the AAC that James Madison and who are they playing tonight?
Troy and James Madison are locked up in an epic battle.
We had a snowball warning from the James Madison athletic director tonight, telling fans not to throw snowballs on the field.
It takes the fun out of everything. Hey, he should go to Philadelphia.
I was just
go to Philadelphia and go tell Dave Turp not to throw a snowball. See how far you get.
I'm assuming with James Madison, at least they're not putting batteries inside the snowballs, and they're not hurling them at Santa Claus. So there's that as well. Yeah, I actually forgot we did a show this past Friday on Black Friday.
It was forgetful.
It was forgetful. Yeah,
we got some things right. We told people not to play Shakir, although our guest was fondly behind Shakir.
Yep.
And, so that was good advice. And you mentioned something very impressive, Alec Pierce, and you presented the question in a way that said Alec Pierce, the number one receiver from Indianapolis. And I said no, but he put up good numbers this past week. And I would love to see him emerge as that. Of course, playing with the great Pittman gives players, hey, that's the earliest we've ever got it in, by the way, 10:07. Playing with the great Pittman allows players to blossom and validates their presence with the team, a young player like that. So it's good stuff.
Tom Smith wishing us a happy Friday. I almost forgot the other co-host with the most. We got Oinker hanging out tonight.
Senior Oinker's over here, babe.
Senior Oinker as well.
He hasn't had much need for these sunglasses in Kentucky lately.
Right.
But he is here.
On the show tonight, hosting, we have two pigs. And then, of course, Oinker and Senior Oinker hanging out tonight, which is great. Ferrell, let's start off in Arizona tonight. That's where we go with this. Okay. I want to get your thoughts on this this post we saw from Theo Mackey, who covers the Arizona Cardinals for AZC Sports and AZ Central. Okay. Jonathan Gannon, the head coach of the Cardinals,
good coach,
stated that is he a good coach?
Good coach. Used to be here at University of Louisville. Hell of a good guy.
Oh, then okay, perfect. Then he's not allowed to be a bad coach. No. Jonathan Gannon said on whether Trey Benson is going to return this season, quote, "Hope is not a great word, but I hope so. He's trying his butt off. He's just not there yet." I think it was Andy Dufresne in Shawshank Redemption said, "Hope is a good thing, maybe even the best of things." And clearly Gannon holds that in high regard because he didn't want to use the word hope with Trey Benson potentially coming back this year. The deadline coming up to activate Trey Benson from his 21-day window is fast approaching. And Gannon also said, we could I'm paraphrasing here a little bit, but Gannon said, we could have activated him, but then just not have him active on Sundays too. So that's a possibility. Really frustrating if you've been holding on Trey Benson to Trey Benson this long, knowing you don't have to deal with James Conner, knowing the only things you have to deal with is a bunch of these hodgepodge misfit toys in that Arizona backfield, right? And now it sounds like he's not coming back this year. Ferrell, if you do have the ability to make waivers Sunday morning, if you are in the playoffs, if you're playing for a championship in the main event, in the Fantasy Football Players Championship Big Gorilla, do you view Trey Benson as now a guy that you need to drop to find another injury away type running back that does have a chance of not only playing this season, but not on IR at this point?
Yeah, definitely. Go find you a running back that can play. Go find you somebody that can emerge. You never know who that is. No, we've got a third string running back playing in New Orleans. We've got a third string running back playing for the Chargers. We got several. We got third, fourth, and fifth string running backs playing for Arizona right now. Maybe you want to get one, but sure, you can't get caught at this point playing with 19 players. Now you might say, hey, I've been successful and I've got this far hanging on to Benson. Well, go ahead because the bye weeks will soon be over and you can go forward without it. If you look at Arizona's upcoming schedule, I believe they have a matchup with the Rams in there. But some of these running backs that are playing for Arizona do get to make a post-Christmas trip to Cincinnati. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, it's kind of like polar opposites, right? Because you get the Rams this week for Arizona. Next week, you have to go to Houston to face that defense, which is not great. But then the last 2 weeks, home against Atlanta and then on the road against Cincinnati. So I think that there's a possibility that, and you could tell yourself a story like, look, I'm in like 300th place or 400th place, or I think Darren Armani,
I wish, Balky. Wow.
Darren Armani posted this on X, of course, Fantasy Mojo, fantasymojo.com. Like the two teams that won the FPC and the main event last year were in like 500 and like 800th place to start the championship round. So anything's possible. But I view it as like, if you are several hundred places down, I wonder if you hang on to Benson in the hopes that this guy does become active and then you deploy him in week 16 against the Falcons. You deploy him in week 17 against the Bengals. And if it works out, then that could have you moving way up, several hundred spots in both the main event and the Big Gorilla. So I think
when we have the Super Sunday event, there's going to be one lonesome guy with a bourbon sitting in the corner, mumbling something about hung on to Benson the whole way. He could sound a little like Shaq doing it.
Oh, I was trying to win KFFSC. I hung on to Trey Benson way too long. And the price.
No, it's a possibility. It is a possibility that it could work out, but more than likely, I think that you know, if you are playing the odds, it's probably not going to be a play that works out for you.
Probably not. What do you say? A non-zero chance? Isn't
non-zero chance it works out though? Non-zero chance it works out 100%. Tampa Bay, Adam Schefter posted this on X earlier this afternoon. Todd Bowles, the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, said Mike Evans is not playing this weekend against the New Orleans Saints, which
big surprise.
I mean, that's the thing. It's just like, you know, we're not shocked by it, but this is a guy that has been hurt since week 7. I mean, we're coming up on 2 months now. His 21-day return window just opened less than a week ago. He did get in, I believe, 3 limited practices this week as well. But apparently he's going to need another week before he gets onto the field. Next week is not a Sunday game for the Bucs. It's actually a Thursday game against the Falcons, which is, I guess, good and bad, right? It's less time for him to prepare, but it also represents a situation where you don't have to wait on Evans. Like, you'll know what to do with them come Thursday night for sure. Evans could miss week 15. It's certainly possible. Buccaneers passing game has not been the same without Evans. Baker Mayfield has thrown for 200+ yards just once over the last 5 games for Tampa. And in those 5 games, 5 touchdowns and 2 picks. Not great, Bob, when it comes down to that. Now that we know that this New Orleans game will not feature Mike Evans, what do you make of Chris Godwin? What do you make of Emeka Egbuka? You know, Godwin looked really good last week. Egbuka's still been struggling, but we saw what he's capable of. I think for me, Ferrell, this has me really down on Cade Otton. We saw Jalen McMillan's practice window open up as well, but I'm fairly high on Godwin and Egbuka this week now that I know that Evans won't be gumming up the works.
Well, and you've got another tight end, and look, 2 receivers. Godwin did a good job of getting open in the past week's game. That's what you roll with because you've got those 2 players, and you probably don't have anyone better. If you do, you went damn 0 running back the whole way. So that's kind of about all you've got to say about that. Those 200 yards. Enough of those 200 yards will go to those 2 receivers to make it worthwhile. And that's what you do there. And, you know, the Baker Mayfield guys that absolutely love him, they sure had a great half year. And I bet you when we get back to Planet Hollywood and gather in 2026 in September, they'll be back on board. You know, they would have forgotten this because the ones that love him absolutely love him. Now, when we get together in Louisville for Super Sunday, there might be a little wounds in the Baker. You know, might be some guys with some memories that are still too fresh to pull him up the boards like they usually do.
Which makes him a great buy for everybody else drafting on Super Sunday. I'll be one of those guys drafting Mayfield. Let's talk about Dalton Kincaid, Ferrell. Cameron Wolf, who covers the Buffalo Bills, posted this on X that head coach Sean McDermott said that Kincaid's going to be questionable against the Bengals this weekend. McDermott said he would need to see Kincaid look, quote, functional to play. I don't know what that means. I don't know if Sean McDermott knows what that means.
Yeah.
Kincaid has been limited in practice, not only this past week, but the week before as well. It sounds like, I mean, this is probably the closest he's been in the last 3 weeks, and it's the Bengals who hemorrhage fantasy points to tight end. So we really want to see that. We want to see him active. We won't know until an hour and a half before the game starts. I'm not going to put words in your mouth here. I am not interested in Dawson Knox if Kincaid doesn't play, even with the juicy matchup. However, if Kincaid is in there, you got to find a way to shoehorn him in your FFPC lineups this week, even with a guy who's been just limited practices the last 2 weeks. The upside with that matchup, it's too good for me to ignore. So if he's active, I'm playing him.
Okay, and I can understand that, and I would not I would not fault you for that.
1 p.m. kickoff too, so we'll know well before any of the
And your key word there is against the Bengals. We saw on Thursday night what happens when two offenses get together, and really, there was some good defensive football still being played, and you had 74 points come up. And from time to time, that group of Cincinnati defenders can make a play, but overall, they're falling way behind that offense. This could be another big scoring game, so why not go ahead and. And fully functional bulky, I suppose that means can run the routes, make the catches, make the blocks, do all the assignments. They don't want a part-time tight end that, is not physically able to do all those things. So I guess that's what fully functional means.
I'll tell you who's fully functional once again tonight in the chat room, the Dizzle. Letting us know how he really feels about Dalton Kincaid.
Yes.
Dalton Kincaid sucks and gets hurt all the time. What a total bust. Yeah, you know what?
And then he said it again.
Yeah.
Just to,
Listen here for the audio listeners.
Yeah, later. For the West Coast group.
For the West Coast crew, yeah.
They come in a little later.
But I will say, in regards to Kincaid, yeah, he has not lived up to his draft capital.
And I'm glad we got the Dizzle and Tom Smith tonight, because that's who we got. We got that.
Yeah, Kincaid has an all-time Hall of Fame quarterback and does not produce. I don't know if there's even Stephon Diggs, I don't think lived up to his name when he was in Buffalo. He was good, but was he great with Allen? Probably not. And I don't think there's any arguing that Kincaid is, given where he was drafted, he has not met expectations, especially those people who drafted him high in FFPC rookie drafts in the FFPC dynasty. But I will say this, given the state of tight end, you got to roll the dice somewhere. And I think Kincaid, despite
roll the dice with Kincaid. I think you could say that about every Buffalo Bill. Does not
everyone. There's certain ones I would not
Give me
roll
one.
the dice with.
Give me one.
Keon Coleman, not rolling the dice with him. Josh,
you could say that. What you said. I'm sorry, Balky. I didn't complete my sentence. You said that a variety of players with the Bills had not lived up to their fantasy potential, and I think you could just double down and say all of them.
Yeah. No, I would say that's the case. It just stinks. Like, what if Josh Allen would have found his Devontae Adams in Buffalo the way Aaron Rodgers did in Green Bay? And think about all the magical seasons those two guys had together. Would have been great. Hasn't happened yet. Maybe it'll never happen. We have Josh Peschke, the one of the co-owners of the FFPC Big Gorilla 10th place overall team, standing by. One thing I want to get, and Ferrell, this is probably going to irritate you, but I'm going to bring it up.
Why?
Because it's a kicker question.
I love kickers.
No, you do not. You have never loved
Don't?
kickers. No, you have gone out of your way to needle me anytime I bring up a kicker question on the show.
Well, what kicker are you going to bring up?
We're going to bring up the kicker, Brandon Aubrey.
No needling from anybody.
5 for 5 field goals last night. 1 extra point, and he was the first kicker in NFL history to drill 3 55-plus yard field goals all in the same game. Unbelievable stuff. My son had him on his fantasy team. He was just on cloud 9 this morning, including, by the way, Aubrey, a 63-yard field goal, which was good. That's his third 60-plus yard field goal this season. Farrell?
He will be the first kicker that I will ever draft in a single-digit round upcoming this year. Now, I'm going to try to draft him in the 12th round, see if I can get away.
See, now this is my question. Are you changing the way you're drafting kickers in 20?
No, I'm changing the way I'm drafting Aubrey.
Just Aubrey. Okay.
Yeah.
So
that's what
Aubrey, I'm like, I listen, I want to make sure you're not messing with me here.
The Detroit kicker has similar skills. He's got a coach that doesn't let him kick much. But Aubrey is true. And that's the beauty of spring football. Occasionally, and especially with a specialist, those guys can get the opportunity they needed. This guy was sitting on the couch. Nobody really gave him an opportunity. Look, he's the best kicker, he's a generational kicker in all of football. I can't remember a guy that was ever like this. And he's leading. There's all this commentary about kickers kicking longer and longer field goals. Well, he's showing them the way, and the rest of them are picking up their games. And, the ones that can't pick up their games, I mean, Koo's kicking the dirt and, things like that. There's other kickers that are struggling to try to keep up. But, you're seeing a true separation amongst the guys that can and can't at the position. I think it's fascinating.
I think it's crazy that you have Brandon Aubrey list. Like, okay, here's what Dizzle says tonight. Aubrey has more fantasy points this season. He's at 163. He's got more fantasy points this season than Justin Jefferson, Saquon Barkley, Ashton Genty, all three of those guys drafted in the first round of numerous FFPC Main Event and Big Gorilla drafts, and Drake London, who I saw go off the board at the tail end of the first round in some of those drafts as well. Currently, and this is maybe the most shocking, Aubrey would rank with those 163 fantasy points, quarterback 22, running back 12, wide receiver 7, and tight end 2 in fantasy football. This is crazy Tom Banana Pants. I mean, it's absolutely insane.
Yeah, see, Dizzle has oversold it. Now I'm going to have to draft him in the 7th round. I'm glad, geez, Dave came in too strong.
I think that this Aubrey thing is just, I mean, it's insane. And I'm very, very interested to see what happens in fantasy drafts next year with where Aubrey goes off the board. And by the way, his season's not over. He's still got 3 weeks of fantasy left. He's got 4 weeks total on the NFL season. We'll kind of see what Aubrey has up his sleeve for the remainder of the season. Okay. Ferrell, I want to get into tonight's guest and bring him on right now.
Why not?
He is one of the co-owners of the Big Gorilla team that's currently sitting in 10th place overall as we head into league championship weekend and then obviously the championship round sprint coming up in week 15. He's joining us tonight on behalf of his other co-owners. Please welcome onto the program, Mr. Josh Peschke. Josh, welcome aboard. So glad to have you tonight. Good evening, sir, and thanks for hopping on.
Good evening, fellas. Thanks for having me.
It's exciting to have you on, and so I was speaking with Bryce Fassbender, one of the other co-owners, and he just nominated. He's like, "Look, I can't come on, but Josh will come on." Are you sort of like the media coordinator of this crew that you do all the media appearances that you're coming on tonight?
I think that's fair to say. Yeah. They had asked me, "Oh, have you heard of this show?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, longtime listener." So when he told me there was an opportunity, I'm like, "Oh, I have to jump on and chop it up with these guys."
Yeah, that's awesome. And we're very thankful for you doing this tonight. I want to talk about some of the players on that 10th place Big Gorilla team. We'll also talk about some players that are not on that team as well. I'll lead things off in Pittsburgh. Kenneth Gainwell was a player that a lot of high stakes players were trying to pick up and were starting over the course of the last few weeks. Week 11, week 12, he was great. He was flexible, definitely top 25 running back, maybe even running back 1 on certain main event and Big Gorilla teams. But week 13, he comes back down to earth, fails to top 7 fantasy points. He plays Baltimore this weekend. In your opinion, Josh, does he make a nice flex play, or are we going to see more of what we saw this past week in week 14 as opposed to his big blow-up weeks 2 and 3 weeks ago, respectively?
I think Gainwell's a tricky player this week. I think if you need him, he's a good play. It's difficult because his snap share is quite low, but his targets are quite high. Mm-hmm. So I do think that he offers a floor, and he does have outs because of how incredibly athletic he is. And I mean, I'm from Wisconsin, giant Packers fan. We all know what Aaron Rodgers likes to do. The man likes to check it down. He goes through his progressions. He's going to hit Gainwell, and Gainwell is explosive after the catch. So I think he's completely viable.
Mm-hmm. I want to get to Ray C's question here as long as we're talking Gainwell. Josh, this is a flex question from Ray C tonight. Basically 2 of these players. One of them has to be a running back. The other one could be a flex. So we would include Luther Burden in on this as well. But basically what Ray's looking at is Kyle Monangai, who is at Green Bay this week, the aforementioned Kenneth Gainwell, who is at Baltimore this week, Adonai Mitchell, who we'll talk a little bit more about later on in the show, who's actually at home against Miami, and then Luther Burden, who is also in Green Bay taking on the Packers this week. If I were to ask you, which is the running back, which is the flex here, who would you go with?
This is definitely a risk tolerance type of play. Monangai has been hurt this week. Gainwell with the lower snap share, AD Mitchell coming off the giant week last week, and Luther Burden kind of stepping into that void that left by Rome Odunze. I do think Luther Burden and A.D. Mitchell coming off of the big game last week are going to be quite popular this week. And I think Monangai is going to fly a little bit under the radar. Mm-hmm. Packers are usually pretty susceptible on the ground. It's been an Achilles heel for many years now. And Monangai has kind of seized that goal line role. So while Swift has been awesome this year and every year for the past few years, I like Monangai here. And I think Luther Burden is pretty interesting. He came into the draft with pretty high pedigree. He's an explosive player, yards after the catch type of player. And the Bears are going to be fired up for this game.
So you are going with Burden and Monangai here to answer his question?
I like the Bears here.
Ferrell, I'll ask your opinion in a second. I agree on Monangai. That's the running back for me. But Adonai Mitchell, hard to disagree with what he has been able to do since becoming a Jet. He has seen 19 targets over the course of the last 2 weeks. He catches 8 of them last week, goes over 100 yards, gets into the end zone as well. I do like him a little bit more than Burden against the Dolphins. The one thing I will say, Burden doesn't have to deal with Roma Dunze this week, who's been ruled out with, I want to say, an ankle or a heel injury or something lower body. So he will not be playing. So Burden probably going to have more snaps out there. So there is something to be said for that. I feel confident Monangai. I lean Mitchell over Burden. Ferrell, how would you weigh in on this question from Ray C?
I'm going, Ray C, sorry, he didn't ask me. Ray C asked the right man. And I'm going to agree. I'm going to agree with Josh because Dave is right. Josh is the face and charisma of the team. And it's a good face, Josh. It's a real good face. But in your setting, you're kind of terrifying me. I'm having flashbacks to, Balky and I are big movie guys. And I'm having a little flashback to Javier Bardem from No Country for Old Men. I'm getting, you're just making, there's that smile, though. So you don't look quite as intimidating there. But it's
If Ferrell asks you to call a coin toss tonight, Josh, just switch off the camera and get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
All I got to say about that. I'll tell you what. I wish I could get the hell out of the Lamar Jackson fantasy football.
No, you can't. We told Josh. Do you really listen to the show?
Oh, I've listened to this show for many years.
God bless you. Well, we throughout the summer we had a theme, and that theme was beware of Zay Flowers, that people were overdrafting him. And I think we hit the number. I think we're going to hit the number. I said 70. The best you can expect is 75 catches and 5 touchdowns. Right now he's at 60 catches and 1 touchdown. And what's really, really disappointing if you have Zay Flowers on your roster is that 20% of his yardage came in the very first game against Buffalo Bills way back in September. This has been, and now we have a question that says, what do you do with Zay Flowers? Well, you put him on your bench and you leave him there. Is my answer. He's had some decent double-digit games if you want to try to win in the FFPC with 11 and 12 points. I don't think that's your game. I don't think you're playing Zay Flowers. I would you talk about a flyer on a couple of these Chicago guys or any of the emerging young players. Balky all of a sudden has become an Alec Pierce fan. Play that guy. What are you doing with Zay Flowers? And did you buy into what we talked about early in the season? No Zay Flowers at the draft cost of where he was going.
No, I think that was a sharp take, buying into Zay Flowers on a run-first team with a run-first coach and an organization committed to the run. I think it's a pretty hard sell, especially considering Lamar's tendency to target the tight ends in the red zone. It kind of just narrows the paths for Zay Flowers. He doesn't have a ton of outs. So I think you guys were sharp in that take.
Mm-hmm.
In regards to Flowers, I don't have him in a lot of spots. I do have him in a few. And for where I drafted him and who else I have at receiver on that team, I don't really have many better options than him. The thing is, the dude has not seen fewer than 5 targets since week 3. He is catching passes every week. with the exception, and I don't know how it happens against the Bengals where he gets 2 catches for 6 yards, but it happened. But you look at his receiving yards, 58, 78, 75, 64, 63, 46, 72, 74. Like he's been putting up yardage this year, so he's getting involved. I understand there's maybe a little bit more limited upside, but I don't really feel better about a lot of other receivers on my roster that I would plunk in for a guy that's consistently putting up 50, 60, 70 yards a week.
No Balky with no touchdowns and limited catches.
Right. He did.
How many? A review of the rules, and Josh probably knows these rules better than anyone. But a review of the rules, FFPC, no points are awarded for targets. It's in the rules.
Yeah, it is. Yes.
Yeah. Are you guys buying into a little bit of a Lamar Jackson bounce back after his recent Twitter?
Yes, sir. In 2026. Yes, sir.
In 2026.
Yeah. Here's the thing, and I said this after listen, I know likely fumbled at the goal line. The touchdown that Flowers caught probably should have stood on that OPI. I mean, that was really, really bad.
Yeah, that was bad.
Questionable at best. So if he throws for 2 touchdowns and 250 yards, if those touchdowns stand, those plays stand, then we're probably not as concerned. But I did say after that game, and maybe I had emotion get the better of me, but I just said, you know what? If this is what Lamar Jackson's doing against the Bengals, I don't want to be in business with Lamar Jackson anymore. He gets the Steelers this week. I don't view anything as I don't view this as a game where he's going to bounce back regardless of anything that's going on off the field this week. I don't speak in absolutes. I understand the possibility that there could be a bounce back here tonight or this week. Beg your pardon. I just don't see it happening. I'm not holding my breath on it. That's where I stand on Lamar Jackson. Okay. Let's talk about Washington. Are you going to go to your dynasty leagues and propose trading Lamar for Aubrey?
You could do it. Somebody might take you up on it, Balky.
I'm telling you, now's the time. You know what it is? Now's the time to trade Aubrey for Lamar Jackson for the 2026 revenge season when Jackson wins the MVP. I don't know. No. Speaking of winning the MVP, a guy who will still be on the short list of winning that award in 2026 is a guy that is expected to make his return this week for the Commanders, and that's Jaden Daniels. Specifically, I want to talk about the Washington pass offense here. Deebo Samuel, I believe, is in your starting lineup for this 10th place team for the Big Gorilla. And I'm wondering, Josh, your take on whether, McLaurin coming back was also good for Deebo Samuel, opening some stuff up for him. McLaurin looked really good. He did not look like a guy that had been shelved for the last 2, 3, 4 weeks or whatever it was. And Deebo Samuel's numbers did not suffer. I mean, he still had a pretty good game. Do you view like this offense now with the return of McLaurin and Daniels that Samuel's becoming, I don't want to say must start, but hard to bench?
I think he's really hard to bench. He's worked his way into the primary role. I mean, let's think back just to the beginning of this year. I know it seems like forever ago, but Jaden Daniels was the tide that lifts all boats. And every indication from the organization is that he's completely healthy. And that's a bet I want to make. And so taking the leading receiver, I think that's worth looking into. And I love Terry McLaurin. I think he's an all-star player. Mm-hmm. But Deebo Samuel has a very favorable role. And, yeah, things are looking up.
Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, he got just Deebo Samuel last week against Denver, the number 1 defense in the NFL, or number 1 fantasy defense in the NFL. 2 carries, he gets that game. He also saw 7 targets, cashes in 5 of them for 64 yards. That's against a really difficult defense. I would say Minnesota's a pushover this week, but definitely not the same type of defense as what Samuel was facing last week. So I'm on board with him in week 14. He gets the Giants in week 15. The Eagles in week 16 isn't great. And then that juicy matchup on championship weekend at home against the Dallas Cowboys. That's going to be fun. I think Samuel's going to be an interesting guy for the championship.
Isn't Justin Jefferson due for a breakout game here too? Couldn't he push the pace of this game a little bit? He's been quiet for many weeks, and a superstar player like Justin Jefferson, if he opens up this game environment, that could be wheels up for Debo.
You would have to point it. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Balky, I would have preferred if you would have referred to the fact that McLaurin last week was fully functional. That would have helped,
Fully functional.
The listeners could have understood McLaurin's health situation.
Sean McDermott would have been the only guy that understood what that meant.
Yeah,
the listeners still would.
Well, Justin Haber, not fully functional this weekend for the Chargers. We want to focus on one question, but we could go a lot of ways with this. The player that with the downfield routes, but that I really appreciate, that I think can catch the ball all over the field and will run the routes to do so, is Quentin Johnson. I believe in Quentin Johnson. I think this is a player that I would go forward with this weekend. But I would like to, to expand and talk about a variety of Chargers players, because a couple of weeks ago, people that had picked up the young tight end Gaston thought that, that they had received nirvana in the waiver wire. And that they were so. Is this injury that debilitating that you think the Chargers come out with less of a pass attack, or do you think that Justin Herbert is just somewhat hitting the wall in his performance? Is it all physical? Is it teams are figuring it out? What's your thought about the Chargers?
I'm a big Justin Herbert believer. I think it's purely physical. And I think this is a good spot for QJ this weekend. They really saw no fall off when Omari and Hampton went out. Mm-hmm. So I think they're going to be able to run their offense the way that they want to. Mm-hmm. And Quentin Johnson is going to be a big piece of that. And if Herbert says he's good to go, I have no reason to not trust him.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I should bring up with Quentin Johnston, that Chargers offensive line is so bad. Not bad. It's just beat up. You don't have Slater. And I wonder if they just, coupled with the hand injury, I just wonder if this is like a Gadsden game, a McConkey game, where Johnston just, he beats you deep. That he's the lid lifter, he's the field flipper, and I just don't know if he's going to have the opportunity to do it. Chargers offense could still be very good, to your point, Josh. I just don't know if Johnston is part of the reason. It's very good.
Is it, guys? Do you think? I feel that we could come on the show and say, man, that team's offensive line is really, really having a poor run. And I think we would be saying that damn near about every offensive line in the league. Can you think of an offensive line that is consistently providing everything the quarterback needs, the pocket? Maybe Philadelphia. I don't know. But can you think of one?
I mean, I think Kansas City's been pretty good so far this year. I mean, good enough. I think Green Bay has really developed their offensive line over the course of, I would say, within the last 3 weeks, they've come together with everybody healthy there. I don't know, man. Like, Buffalo, I think, has been very good this year. There are offensive lines that have had strong seasons. But to your point, Ferrell, I think a lot of the times when we're talking offensive line on the show, we're talking about it not being up to par.
No, it is never. I think about Indianapolis, the production of the running back and the wide receivers, the maturation of the quarterback, they have to be doing something right.
Yeah.
But I just wonder sometimes the physical aspect of the performance of the great speed rushers, the great edge rushers in this league, and how much more athletic they are than the guys playing left and right tackle. And it's just something I was thinking about.
Yeah. Something that the Dizzle's thinking about right now. I don't want to throw this up and so it doesn't get lost in the wash here. He has to decide which Bears wide receiver to play this week against the Packers. Do I start Burton or the most consistent underperformer, DJ Moore? And I just looked this up. DJ Moore for full PPR leagues like the FFPC has had 2 top 25 finishes all season among receivers. That came in week 9 against Cincinnati, where he had a 17-yard touchdown run. And then another week it would have been 12, 2 weeks ago against Pittsburgh, where he caught 2 touchdowns. Other than that, wide receiver 46, 59, 29, 53, 40, 41, 34, 131 when he put up a bagel against the Giants. Wide receiver 72, wide receiver 65. Now, it's not like Luther Burden has been that much better consistently over the course of the season, but I do think these are players moving in opposite directions. I would actually lean towards starting Burden here over DJ Moore for Dizzle. Josh, how do you feel about it?
That's interesting. I think I'm pretty torn. I might be stuck to my priors here, but I'm a big DJ Moore truther. I think he's the full package. He's had a very underwhelming season, and part of that is the emergence of Burden, the emergence of Loveland, and Roma Dunze sort of having his, well, now muted, but breakout season. But I do think there is some familiarity there. I think I lean DJ Moore.
Ferrell, you're going to go Moore or Burden in this sense?
Difficult for me because I have not crossed this conundrum in fantasy football this year. If I want to win this thing, I'm going to go with Burden.
I think it's close to Josh's point here, but go with God on this, Dizzle.
I'm going to change it 4 times on Sunday morning too, and then I'm going to pace around, and then I'm going to call some guy who's already thinking about baseball season and talk to him about it, and then I'm going to listen to that smart girl that went to MIT that is working on her figure and looks great. It's whatever she says, I might go for.
I think that we were overthinking this here, and Dizzle pointed out, has DJ Moore ever had his own brand of potato chips?
I said this bag.
The answer is no, but Luther Burden has, where you can get the Old Vienna Red Hot Riplets, which is a special Luther Burden edition of honey barbecue flavored potato chips. I don't know where you can get them, but I do know they're being sold right now. So there's something to be said for that. Okay, let's talk more receiver here. And we touched on Adonai Mitchell. I want to bring up Michael Wilson here as well. Who do you think has the better fantasy week? Another way of asking this question, Josh, who would you rather start between Adonai Mitchell at home against the Dolphins or Michael Wilson, who's home against the Rams? But as we found out, no Marvin Harrison Jr. officially this week. Wilson or Mitchell, who would you play in week 14?
I think this depends a little bit on your preference. I like receivers who are big and athletic, the DK Metcalf, the Devontae Adams. And I think in this scenario, I would rely on Adonai Mitchell. He has those physical tools that it just gives you a few more outs. I know Michael Wilson has been he's been balling lately. But they are playing a tough Rams defense, and this does kind of feel like a down-to-earth, fall-back-to-earth game for Jacoby Brissett. He's been hot. He's been hot, but this feels a little trappy to me this week.
I've really enjoyed watching it, though. I know what you're saying.
Me too.
I don't want to see it end because I've enjoyed
a fun player.
Yeah, exactly. Another player I enjoy watching, Mark Andrews. Looks like we're going to get to watch him more. These old tight ends won't go away, but it won't go away. Mark Andrews with the 3-year contract extension, perhaps he fulfills all 3 years of the contract. If I could get in my time machine and go backward, well, probably wouldn't have as much Andrews as I have on my rosters. But going forward, what are we going to think about when we get to the Big Gorilla, when we get to the dynasties, when we get to the main event and we head live to Las Vegas? What are we going to be doing with Likely next year? Is this mix of confusion? Because it seems like Andrews is always going to get his, and it seems like Likely just might be a best ball player while ever he's at Baltimore paired with Andrews.
And I'll just preface this before you answer, Josh. I just ultimately assumed Likely would be the next guy in Baltimore. And once Andrews was off this team, which I thought might happen before this season started, it didn't. But I thought for sure it would happen. And then they extend him. And this dude is already on the wrong side of 30. As Dizzle has pointed out, Mark Andrews is absolutely terrible. He's averaging 27 yards per game in 2025. And yet The Ravens believe in him, and whether we believe in him or not is kind of irrelevant. If the Ravens are going to give him this kind of money, it does make me very skittish about how I'm handling Likely in drafts and how I'm handling Likely in my dynasty leagues right now after I see what Baltimore did. I don't know, man.
I just like that Ferrell would use his time machine and to focus on fantasy football. That's good to know. His heart's in the right place.
That's all. That's all. That's all.
I think that Mark Andrews has not been fully healthy, and I think the Ravens know that. And I also think that when he is healthy, he's an elite player, an elite red zone weapon for Lamar, and they have this chemistry. I understand the 27 yards a game, but he's been pretty bankable as an elite tight end for many years. And I think the Ravens extending him is a vote of confidence in him for the next few years. And how often do we see these tight ends have magical late career seasons? They start to figure the position out a little bit more. They get a little bit stronger, a little more seasoned in the NFL. And he's attached to Lamar, and this is Lamar's favorite target. I think Likely he is a one-hit wonder. He had that smash game, was it 2 years ago, week 1? And so it's that everybody that sticks out in everybody's head. He had this giant game, and he looked awesome. I think that's part of the hurdle here is he's such an athletic player that you would think he'd be able to usurp Mark Andrews, but I think there's a technical component that he may be missing that Mark Andrews definitely possesses.
Yeah, and in the world of football, you love playing for a coach and an organization that keep the team intact and support the players. That's good for the locker room and good for everyone there. So I can see why the Ravens do it. You know, they're interested in winning football games. It'll be curious to see how they use them. Isaiah might be a little bit better player in my mind than he is in yours, but I guess that's a position that I'm going to avoid. 2 tight ends equals 0 tight ends for me. So
he's gonna break out later in his career.
Yeah.
That's the thing. He's young and athletic. He's gonna get a second chance, maybe on a different team, and he's gonna hit.
And Dizzle's pointing out a lot of good young tight ends, and they're there. So why not? Why not go ahead and spend your money on tight ends, spend your draft capital on tight ends, and then the Dallas kicker. That's what you need.
Yeah, exactly.
The theme of this show.
Not necessarily in that order either.
Yeah.
Isaiah Likely will turn 26 in April, so he's definitely got some good football.
Plenty of time.
For sure. All right. What did I want to talk about here? Oh, Amari and Hampton. If we can get back to the Chargers, it's a Chargers show tonight apparently. Hampton practiced in full today, according to Daniel Popper, who covers the Chargers for The Athletic. He was in a blue jersey participating in the red zone walkthrough today as well. This is obviously a good sign that he is going to play. However, a couple of caveats here. Number one, just because he plays or just because he's active doesn't necessarily mean he's going to get a starter's level of volume. If you're thinking about playing him in your Big Gorilla or Main Event championships. And the other thing to consider too, this is a Monday night game. So there still is a non-zero chance, although I think it's very small. That's why I say non-zero, that he does not do anything, that he's inactive. They decided to hold him out one more week. When you consider all these factors, obviously it's going to depend upon your team. But Josh, if you're looking at Omari and Hampton this week, would you be rolling the dice and starting him, or would you more often than not land on the cautious side of still not playing him?
The 220-pound first round Omari and Hampton, I think I'm willing to bet on that guy. I think I'm willing to bet on that guy. I think he's a stud. And if he's healthy and he's playing, I'm playing him.
It is one of those things where you bet on the talent, right? You bet on the pedigree, and certainly if I'd be really ticked off if I didn't play him because I thought he'd be on a snap count or I thought that, Vidal coming off a big, week 12 or week 13, whatever it was, is going to handle, 40, 50, 60% of the workload. And then Hampton scores 2 touchdowns. It'd make me sick. Mm-hmm. So I do think you have to look at that as well in trying to kind of suss this out and figure out what you're doing with Hampton. It's a Monday night game, and obviously your specific roster should probably answer the question for you on whether you're playing Hampton or not this week. That's just one of the running backs we're considering here, Ferrell. There's another one we need to talk about in the Big Easy.
I love going down to New Orleans. I hate that Alvin Kamara is not in a lineup, and that these guys that I wonder next year. It's become, especially amongst the pros that we talk to in the summer, it's become very passe to draft a handcuff running back. I wonder if we'll see a return to that based on what we've seen this year. But I don't think in New Orleans, Devin Neal is necessarily handcuffed. He's a big guy. He's a bit slow of foot. Seems to catch the ball really well when they're in the chase position and down by a couple touchdowns in a game. And the rookie quarterback, to me, I think that's necessity that's all that's available, and they're dumping it off. But your thoughts on whether you start Devin Neal and his 3.5 per yard average, and we're looking at a guy that's, I think maybe 150 yards rushing this season. In other words, does this player, given the opportunity, go beyond what we've seen so far? Can you trust him? Do you believe it?
Yeah, I believe in Devin Neal. I mean, he's given me no reason not to believe in him. 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons in college, minimum of 20 catches every single year at Kansas. I mean, I think he was a little bit of an underrated prospect. I'll feel better about the play if we get some more clarity on Chris Olave's status. I think that Chris Olave kind of opens up the offense a little bit and is Shuck's security blanket. But yeah. He can catch. I think he's got some outs.
He's a good pass catcher for that size, and he gets rolling. Now, that was how he did it in college. I don't know if he's going to roll over anybody. Okay. I'm curious about this player for next year, and I'm wondering where he was. We've got another young running back here, Miller, in this group that's not available. So I'm just curious about next year. There's a lot of guys, Josh, that are talking about next year.
These guys are the complete opposite too. It's really interesting from the Saints organizational perspective, because Kendre Miller is this giant, fast, big back who can catch. And then Devin Neal is a little bit more of a plotter, but has a lot better vision and more consistency. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I've always been a little bit of a Kendre Miller truther, even though he's never really shown it at the NFL level. I think he's dealt with a lot of career injuries that have kind of hindered his development. But Devin Neal, good prospect, and hopefully he shows us something down the stretch.
The question here from Dizzle, Saints are 8.5-point dogs in Tampa this week. So he may not be running much. And quite frankly, he hadn't been all that great running. 7 for 18 against Atlanta, 14 for 47 against Miami. However, he has seen over the course of his last 3 weeks, essentially when Kamara got hurt, he has seen 13 targets. He's caught 11 of those 13 targets over the course of the last 3 weeks for a total of 70, just under 80 yards. I don't have my exact math in front of me here, or in my head, apparently. So I can catch. Will it be enough? I don't know. I will say that the good thing here is Taysom Hill, who we thought would factor into the ground game a little bit more with Kamara out, had 1 carry last week and didn't look all that good on it. So I think that, you could do worse than Devin Neal. He's certainly not a player I want to try, especially against Tampa. Like this week, not only are they 8.5-point dogs, but you can't really run on Tampa. You beat them through the air. And there could be some checkdowns from Tyler Shook this week to Devin Neal. So I think he makes for a decent flex and a good solid second flex.
He's a clone of Gainwell. He's a Gainwell clone.
I don't think he's
Statistical Gainwell.
Yes, statistically speaking, I think you are very close to. You might have even hit the nail on the head there, but I would definitely agree with that.
I like this game environment. I think this is a game this week that I want to be betting on. I don't know where the points are going to come from, but I do think there are some outs for Neil in this environment to step up and be useful in your lineups this week.
I love that expression, outs, Bucky.
Yeah.
I want to adopt that. Josh, can I adopt that?
Absolutely.
Well, Ferrell, that's a poker term, or at least that's where I heard it first.
Well, I don't know much about poker.
Really? Yeah, because you're a craps guy. I forget. But we'll get together and we'll play some poker. We'll play some craps, and both of us will have a great time.
Yeah.
Josh, you're invited.
Yeah.
So for the final question here tonight, Ferrell is going to pitch it to you about sleepers and busts.
Well, we've had some really, really impressive responses lately, Josh. And then we've had guys that won't even answer the damn question. It's like I never ask. Now, you can't use anybody we've talked about before. But who are you going to set? Last week I called set Khalil Shakir. I'm going to carry that, man. I'm going to talk about that all year long. I also said go ahead and start Pittman. And that didn't help anyone. It's a tough question, but I want to know who you are going to set that most people will just put in their lineup. One of those just automatic kind of lineup guys. And then I want to know who that that you're going to put in, that you're counting on, that you can see having a late season surge to deliver you to victory in this head-to-head championship FFPC weekend.
I think I'll go bold here. I think you can sit Saquon Barkley.
That's bold. Wow. That's bold.
I think you can sit Saquon Barkley.
Very bold.
Barkley, just for what it's worth, and I know he went against the number one defense of the Chicago Bears last week. 13 for 56, 10 for 22. It took him 26 carries to get 83 yards against Detroit. Green Bay held him to 60 yards on 22 carries. You have to go back to week 8 where he churned out a 14 carry for 150-yard game. And that's been his only 100-yard game of the season. Now, I will say against the Cowboys, who bottled him up pretty good, 10 for 22 on the ground, he did catch 7 passes for 52 yards in that game. But he has not caught more than 4 passes. Besides that game, he has not caught more than 4 passes in any game this season. A very underwhelming performer so far. And as we head into week 14 on the season, this dude has a combined 6 touchdowns on the year, which is not great. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not great, especially when you consider the draft capital. Now, I will say, Josh, to go bold and say sit Barkley, you're going to have some pretty good running backs.
Gainwell over Barkley, Josh. Are you going to do it? Devin Neal over Barkley, Josh.
But, I mean, with the return of Bucky Irving, I mean, I would play Irving over Barkley this week.
Well, sure you would.
You have tough decisions if you have one flex spot left and you're looking at Breece Hall or Saquon Barkley or Quinshon Judkins versus Saquon Barkley. I think these are, or even guys, RJ Harvey or Saquon Barkley this week. I think none of these are slam dunk decisions.
Kirk would start Pollard over Barkley.
Yeah, he definitely would. Is there a sleeper that you can give us in week 14 here, Josh?
Yeah, you kind of touched on it. I like RJ Harvey this week.
Oh, you gotta love that.
Against your Raiders, Ferrell, and your back.
To get those Denver guys on it. And I love that. How many touchdowns last week for RJ Harvey, Josh? I know.
Oh, did he score? Did he score last week?
I think he scored 2, didn't he?
Did he score 2?
He scored 2. I talked to a good player today that's had a successful season. He was engaged in a head-to-head against a team that had R.J. Harvey, and he was unsettled that he was defeated. He said R.J. Harvey had a game that he didn't, just a one-off game. I don't say that's a one-off game. I believe in young players getting better as the season goes on, and I love your selection of R.J. Harvey. I don't know if I'm going to qualify him on sleeper, but I'm going to give you a pass on it because the player is just so damn good. And anyone that considered not playing R.J. Harvey, I had him in my lineups last week. But I admire many of the drafters that draft young players and then get to this point in the season, and that young player is really beginning to develop. So, everybody that took Harvey, the tip of the hat for me.
And I will say this to all the Harvey haters out there. This dude averaged 2.7 yards a carry last week, but he finished RB4 on the week because of those 2 touchdowns. Also caught 3 passes in that game as well, which obviously contributed to his performance. Listen, Josh, this was so much fun having on. By the way, what part of Wisconsin are you originally from?
Oh, dead center, Wausau, Wisconsin.
Wausau, baby. I love it.
Well, where are you now, Josh?
I'm just outside of Seattle.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Long way from home.
So Wausau, and you moved from Wausau to Seattle for work or after college, or what was it?
After college, moved to Milwaukee, lived in Milwaukee for a few years, and then I moved to Dallas for work, and then moved out to Seattle.
He's going west, Balky.
Yes,
go west, young man.
He is one of the co-owners of the 10th. I should. Maybe I'm being presumptuous on this. Are you one of the co-owners of that team?
One of the co-owners, but I want to give credit to the main individual, Tom Fish. He had a great draft. He's incredibly sharp.
Yeah, and you guys are battling for a championship this week. You're battling for $1 million coming up here at the end of the season with the championship sprint getting ready to get underway in week 15. Thank you so much for hopping aboard tonight. I wish you all the best of luck, and don't be a stranger. Hopefully, we'll talk again soon.
Talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much.
That is Josh Peschke, ladies and gentlemen, hanging out with us tonight. He is
He's a cool dude.
Yeah, very, very cool. Very cool.
That's scary.
Listen, he's from Wisconsin. He obviously is going to be cool, Ferrell. It's impossible.
Most of my friends from Wisconsin are some of the coolest people I've ever met.
That's true. Yes, they are. Let's do some rapid fire.
Okay.
Oh, actually, we got a starter sit right now from Sam Ball right now in the chat. Hi guys, I needs to win. Needs 2 wide receivers. Chris Godwin. I'm assuming that's Nico Collins.
Yes.
Terry McLaurin, Michael Wilson, and then Joe Burrow or Jaden Daniels. Okay, let's unpack the quarterback question here first. I am rolling with Burrow at the Bills over Jaden Daniels this week. How do you feel about Jaden Daniels taking on the Vikings?
I'm going Burrow too.
Okay, all right. So we're going Burrow there, and then we need to pick 2 of these receivers. So we're looking at Chris Godwin, who is at home against the Saints.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at Nico Collins, who is at Kansas City. Mm-hmm. We're looking at Terry McLaurin, who is at Minnesota. And then we're looking at Michael Wilson, who is against the Rams this week. Now, I think for me, Ferrell, Collins is a must. I know it's not a great matchup, but I'm playing him. And I think the other one I play with no Marvin Harrison, I think I'm going to lean towards Michael Wilson here over Terry McLaurin, and I'm sitting Chris Godwin.
Most of you guys will do that. Now, why do you not think Nico Collins is a good start against Kansas City?
Okay, so number one, I think Kansas City's defense is pretty solid. Number 2, I also think that could be a knockdown, slug it out, low-scoring game. So I don't know. I'm going to look at the total right now, but that's just what I think on the surface. The total on that Chiefs-Texans game, was that a late game here? Yeah, it's a Sunday night game.
Yeah.
Total on that is 41.5, which to me does not mean a whole lot of points are going to be being scored that game.
I like Collins and I like Godwin.
So you're going Collins, Godwin, Burrow. Yeah. I'm going Burrow, Collins, Wilson. There you go. All right. Let's move on here. By the way, shout out to New Jersey. That's where Sam Ball is.
Sam Ball asked that question. Sam Ball, if you need a head-to-head win, go to Godwin. If you're in a tournament, go with Wilson.
Oh, actually, that would make some sense. Yes. I can get down for that. Bill in Boise, Idaho. Oronde Gadsden or Darren Waller this week, Ferrell. Assume tight end premium scoring. I think this might be sacrilege. I think I'm going to roll with Waller here over Gadsden.
Can you believe we're fielding questions on Darren Waller? If I told you this back in the summer, you would have said, Ferrell, you're so damn high. And, if you're high enough to go with Darren Waller, why not, Bucky? I'll join you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how this Herbert thing is going to go with his hand. And I know that with the offensive line. Maybe more quick passes means more for Gadsden, but Waller is the second, well, technically the third option after Achane on that offense, and he's been making plays.
Well, we talked about old tight ends.
Yeah, well, yes, and he's one of them. The defending champ in the FPC has a question for us this week. Mike Melberg.
Good God, why?
From glorious Appleton, Wisconsin, chiming in right now. Michael Wilson or Michael Pittman? Ferrell, I think you have to recuse yourself from answering this question. Ferrell's going Pittman. I'm going to lean towards Pittman as well in this, Mike. So that's where we go on that. Yeah. Okay, who did I say was next here? Did I have?
I think Mike has somebody else. He should play both those players. He's got somebody else to sit. We need a full disclosure from him.
Sit Barkley and play Wilson and Pittman
at running back.
Yes. Todd in Miramar, Florida. Jacoby Brissett or Daniel Jones? Brissett this week is taking on the Rams. That's at Arizona. And then Daniel Jones, still dealing with that fractured fibula. He is in Florida taking on the Jaguars.
Wow. I don't know if I've heard a tougher one that way. I'm going to go Jones. I'm going to go Jones.
I'm going to go Brissett here. If you look at his, I mean, he has started, or at least come in, he's played the majority of 7 games. His lowest passing total in any one of those games has been 258.
Yeah, that's true.
He has failed to throw at least 2 touchdowns just one time. He's been incredibly consistent. Mm-hmm. I don't think the Colts offense is trending down. I'm not willing to go that far yet. But I trust Brissett a lot more, and they're airing it out, man, and they're going to air it out again this week.
And and they are airing out, and I think about it, Indianapolis. I think Indianapolis with their run game is a strength for the quarterback, but it maybe Jones gets to that 20-22 point number that I'm looking for. And maybe Brissett shoots past it. I have a lot of appreciation for that Rams defense. It's just a tough one for me. Yeah. I would like to return to this one next week and see if they score close in fantasy points, but they would get there in so many different ways.
The total on that Rams-Cardinals game, 47.5. Cardinals are 8.5 point dogs. The total on that Colts-Jaguars game, 46.5. So I guess it's not that far off. Colts are 1.5 point favorites there.
6 or 7. 6, 7.
6 or 7. That's somewhere around.
I don't think it's or. I think it's 6, 7.
6, 7.
Don't
okay.
Put the or
Sorry. There you go. If my daughter was awake right now.
Is she still up?
Yeah.
Talk to her about it.
She is fast asleep.
She's out chasing that lost cat again.
No. I checked before I went on the air tonight. Both cats accounted for and in the house. Thank God, because it's cold. It'd be a cold night looking for cats tonight. The last email I have here is from Ed in Boiling Springs, South Carolina. RJ Harvey, the aforementioned RJ Harvey at the Las Vegas Raiders, or his running back counterpart in the same game, Ashton Genty, at home against the Broncos. Ferrell, would you be sitting Genty in favor of Harvey in Week 14?
Yes.
I think that the only saving grace Genty has had for the majority of the season has been his pass-catching chops. That's what's saving him. He has gotten 24 targets over his last 3 games. He's turned them into 20 catches in his last 3 games, well over 100 yards receiving, including 1 touchdown. Dude hasn't been able to do it on the ground. 15 for 31, 17 for 50, 6 for 7, 19 for 60, 13 for 42. But through the air is where his bread is being buttered. I am still going to roll with Genty in this over Harvey, even though it goes against what you're saying, Ferrell. I could be wrong. It's close to a coin flip for me, but I'm excited about those Genty pass catching chops. And Sean Payton scares me. Any kind of Denver running back, I never know what this guy is going to do on a weekly basis. And Harvey was not all that efficient last week. Good matchup this week. I just don't know if that's
good matchup for him. And if you believed in Jenny and spent that draft capital, it's a hard situation. And if you're making this decision about these 2 players, you've got a damn good team.
Which I think everybody's sending starter sick questions to us at this point of the year.
People that have damn good teams. Yeah. So This one is tough, but I can see the Raiders being near shutout in this game.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Which would mean some Harvey running in the second half for sure. Ferrell, I want to remind everybody that the KFFSC Super Sunday drafts are live at kffsc.com. You can draft live at glorious Caesars Southern Indiana and hang out and watch the Super Bowl that week as well. That's going to be a lot of fun. It'll be my first trip doing it. Very excited to do it this year. Drafting, I believe, 8 or 9 teams that weekend. It's going to be glorious. I can't wait to do it. You can join me. You can join Ferrell. Register now, kffsc.com. That's kffsc.com. Thank you so much, Ferrell, for hopping aboard tonight. Always a pleasure, my friend. And we will do this again 7 days from now.
See you then, Balky.
That is Ferrell Elliott, ladies and gentlemen, the definitive commissioner of fantasy football. That's going to wrap things up tonight. I want to thank Josh Peschke, Ferrell Elliott, the FFPC, Rob Bryce, and, of course, each and every one of you. As I said, we will be back next Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern time. The RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown, in case you missed it, we had ESPN stats and info researcher Mackenzie Kramer on the show this past Tuesday because he is 18th place in the FFPC main event right now. Great conversation with him as he gets ready to try to win a couple of of main event league championships this week. RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown will be back at 10 p.m. this coming Tuesday as well. In case you missed last night's Insider Access show on the Better Sports Network, we had RotoViz's Thomas Emmerich on. A lot of fun talking with him. He is the host of the Remember That Game podcast on RotoViz. And if you haven't checked that out, even if you're not a fantasy fan, or perhaps especially if you're not a fantasy fan, it is a tremendous listen where he goes back into the annals of sports history, picks out a game, and then talks with somebody who remembered it well, was either there or has a special connection to the game. He had state of Washington Representative Adam Smith talking about that famous Mariners-Yankees ALDS game from 1995. Great listen. So check it out anywhere you get podcasts. He was my co-host last night. It was a lot of fun. We will be back this coming Thursday at 7 o'clock with Established the Runs John Daigle, who will join me for 2 full hours, including some of that Falcons-Buccaneers game on Thursday Night Football. FFPC Weekly Challenge is live. No draft, no salary cap. Just pick 10 or 12 players. Win up to $2,500, 10, 30, and 100-team contest. Only one player per NFL team. So if you want Ashton Genty, you can't have Brock Bowers. If you want RJ Harvey, you cannot have Cortland Sutton. Sign up today, myffpc.com. That's myffpc.com. Remember to like this video, subscribe to this channel, comment on the video, share it with your friends, share it with your enemies, and get notified each and every time we go live, which will be Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern time for the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown. And then this show will go live 10 p.m. next Friday for the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Really appreciate each and every one of you. Your weekend officially starts now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com. It was broadcast live and was watched around the world. Balky and Ferrell will be back next week with more analysis, more interviews, and more advice from guests much smarter than they are. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk with you again next week.
Also want to let you know, too, we do have a fairly exciting announcement with the FFPC that's coming up. Only you who pay attention to this post-show stinger will know about it. But look, remember to check your emails Monday afternoon because you'll have a special message from the FFPC. And I'll leave it at that. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Have a great weekend. We're off and running. Good luck in your league championships this weekend. Championship round is next.